Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at 10 of the most useful Python string methods that every beginner should know. Strings show up in almost everything you build: login forms, text processing, user input. So knowing how to handle them properly is super important. I'll show you clear examples of each method and how they are actually used in real projects. So let's get started. So we're going to first look at the lower method, and the lower function just converts every character in the string to make it lowercase and returns a new string because strings in Python are immutable. So we're going to take a look at this example. I'm going to say text equal, and I'm going to create a string and say hello, and then I'm going to use a combination of uppercase and lowercase so that we can see lower method in action. And then I'm going to print, and I'm going to say text.lower, and then call the function. So if I run my project right now, we see hello Python in lowercase. You might ask yourself, when is the lower method useful? Number one, I'm going to say it's useful in comparing user input. So let's say answer equal, and then I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to say type, and then yes. And then if we come down here and use an if statement to check if the answer is equals to yes in lowercase, so you can say if answer dot lower, and then we can say equal, and then type yes in lowercase. So what you can do is you can print great. So let's say I'm going to print great. I can come back to my terminal. So we see it says type yes, and I'm going to type using uppercase. So I'm going to say yes, then press enter, and we see we get great, because when we get the value from the input, we're converting it into lowercase, then we compare it with yes, and it matches. But without the dot lower, it wouldn't have printed great. The lower method is also useful in cleaning text before storing it in a database, and also avoiding bugs from mismatched capitalization. So key takeaway on this, I can say lower method does not change the original string. It creates a new one that is fully lowercase. So if we come back right now down here and print, let me print again. I can say, what were we printing? It was text. So if we print text, let's see, I'm going to comment this out so that the input doesn't bother us. I'm just going to comment that. So if we run our program again, we see the first string we had. It hasn't changed at all because strings are immutable. So Python returned to us a new string. Next we have the upper method. So I'm going to create a comment and say upper. Then upper is basically lower method's louder cousin. It just makes every letter uppercase. So again, we can have an example, but we don't need it because we already know it just makes the string characters uppercase. So we can say message, and then we can say equals and open quotation marks, and I can say Python is fun. Right now, if we use message dot upper and then we print it, let's print it, So if we say print and we print message.upper, I'm going to clean the terminal, so I'll just say clear, and then I'm going to increase its size. So right now we can see Python is fun in uppercase. The uppercase just returned back to us another string that is in capital letters. Where do you actually use the upper function? Number one, I can say making headings or labels to stand out. Number two, we could say cleaning or normalizing text for comparisons, and then formatting data for UI or reports, and also case insensitive checks when paired with .lower or upper. Let's use another example. Let's create a password check. This is just a demo, so don't say this password check is too weak. I'm going to comment this out. Let's do this simple example. I could say code equal input. I'm going to open quotation marks, and then I'm going to say enter code. Next, we can check if the code is matching to a certain string. So we can say if code dot upper, and then we can say, oh, it's a function, I need to call the parentheses, and then we can say equal, and then we can say ABC, and then we can say 1 2 3. I'm going to print access granted. I'm going to say access granted. So if we run our program right now, if we run it, and then I'm going just to type it in lowercase a, b, c, and then 1 2 3, we see access granted because the string has been converted into uppercase. Next, we have the strip method. So I'm going to create a comment, strip method. The strip method removes white spaces or specific characters from the start and end of a string, but not inside the string. So I'm going to show you a simple example. I'm going to use my name. So I can say name equal, and then I'm going to have some white spaces, and then say Clyde Sparks, and then add some more white spaces. So if we say name dot strip, we're going to realize that the white spaces will be removed. So let me just print it, and then we're going to see. And then I'm going to comment out this input so that it doesn't bother us. I'm going to run my program now. Just a minute. Code is not defined, so I'm going to comment out also the if statement, and then clear the terminal again, and then run it again. So we see Clyde Sparks without any white spaces. But if we print name again, let's say print and then name without using the strip method, this is what we're going to get. White spaces and then white spaces at the end again. So the strip method cleans up spaces, tabs, new lines, and any extra junk at the edges. It's perfect for user input. Let's again create a small example. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Let's create another example and see how it works. I can say email equal, and then I can use input, and then I can say email, and then, sorry, this should be a string, so I can say email, and then I can use the dot strip method at the end of the email. So it's going to strip away any white spaces. We can also remove some specific characters from a string to call this variable messy. First, let me comment out this email. I'm going to say messy. I'm going to have a string. This is how it will look like. I'm going to use hash sign, and then I'm going to say hello, and then also again add some hash sign. What I can do is print messy, and then I can say dot strip, and then inside the parentheses I can give it an argument. So I'm going to use the hash sign. So let's see what we get. I'm going to clear my terminal again and then run the program. So we get hello without the hash signs. They have all been removed by the strip sign. So if you don't give it an argument, it just removes the white spaces. But if you give it what you want to remove, it's going to remove exactly what you want to remove. So why is the strip method essential? Number one, I will say it cleans form inputs and then prevents bugs in login system. And then I could say good for data processing, let's say CSV files and logs. Lastly, I could say it saves you from invisible space nightmares. And it also has some cousins. I'm just going to show you the cousins, but I will not teach on them. So we have L strip, and then we also have R strip. I think these are self-explanatory. You can see L strip and R strip. L just stands for left, right strip, and left strip. Next, we have the replace method. So I'm going to create a comment and say replace, and then open parenthesis, and then say method. So the replace method finds all occurrences of a substring and replaces them with another substring. And again, I'm going to tell you this, it returns a new string. The original stays unchanged. So I will give you a simple example. Let me clear my terminal. Then I'm going to say text equal, open quotation marks, and then I'm going to say I love Java, and then open. I'm going to put a period and then say Java is so cool. And I'm going to create another text. I'm going to say fixed equal text dot replace. So it takes two arguments. The first one is the substring we want to change. So I'm going to say Java. Then I'm going to give it a comma and give it the new one. So I'm going to say Python. And right now, if we run our program, we see I love Python and then Java is so cool. I made a mistake. I should have written Java. Yes, so we run it again and we see I love Python. Python is so cool. We also have another pattern where we have string.replace and we give it 3 arguments. So let me show you how it works. We're going to say, look something like this. So we say string.replace. So I can say, let's say text.replace. So we give it the old one and then comma, and then we give it the new one, and then we give it also the count. Old is what we want to change. So what we want to change, and then the new is what you want instead, and then count, which is optional. I'm just going to put in parentheses optional equals how many replacements to make. So I made a mistake in replacements to make. So this should be a comment. I'm just going to comment it out. And I'm going to take control and then press the /, and we can have a simple example including the count. So I'm going to say msg equal, and then I'm going to say ha 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 ha, and then down here I'm going to come and say print. You can print msg dot replace parentheses, and we're going to give it the first argument. We can say ha, and then we want to replace it with ho, and then we can do 2. So let's see what we get. So if I run my program, we didn't comment this out, so I'm going to comment it and then clear my terminal again. So I print, and you see ho ho ha ha. So the first 2 ha ha's have been replaced with ho ho. So we see, increase this from 2 to 3, we're going to see 3 ho 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 and then 1 ha. Where are the real world use cases of the replace method? Number 1, I would say fix spelling mistakes automatically. And then number 2, I would say censor bad words. Number 3, I'd say format templates, like replacing name in a static website with an actual name, let's say one we're getting from the database. And then quickly tweak strings fetched from the database for a file. So the bottom line I want you to know is replace method is the fastest way to rewrite chunks of text without splitting or slicing. Super essential for anyone working with real data. And with that, since we've talked about slicing, we're going to talk about split. Create a comma and say split method. So anytime you need to break text into pieces, split method is your go-to. The split method breaks a string into a list using a separator, and the default is any white space. So I can give you a simple example. We can say sentence. You can say equal Python is awesome. And then we can come and say words equal, we want a words list, and we can say sentence dot split, and then just open parentheses. So right now, if we print words, we're going to get a list. So you see we get a list, Python is awesome. Also, we can choose a separator. Let me show you how we can do that. Let's say det and then say equal. So what we can do, we can say parts equal det dot split, and then we can give it a separator. We can just say dash. So if we print parts, get another list which has been separated everywhere the minus sign has been found. Where is this method useful? Number 1, I would say working with CSV like text, and then I would say passing dates, names, URLs, and then splitting input values. E.g., I would say 3, 5, and then maybe 2 numbers. So split is everywhere in Python string manipulation. Once you understand it, text becomes easy to control. So the next one, we're going to talk about the join method. The join method is the reverse of split, and honestly one of the coolest strings method once it clicks. So let's look at what join does. The join method takes a list of strings and glues them together into one string, using the string you call it on as the separator. So I will give you a simple example. I'm going to say words, and then we can have a list, and we can say again Python, comma, and then we can say is, comma, then we can say fun. And then what we can do is we can say sentence equals, we can use white space, and then we can say dot join, and then words. And then what we can do is we can print sentence, and this is what we get. Python is fun. So we are getting a join string like this, and it's not looking good because I should have done this instead. I should have added a space inside, so we get Python is fun, and now it's a good statement. So I'm going to clear my terminal again. So the empty space is what joins each item. That's why the space goes before the join method. Let's look at a few real-world uses of the join method. Number one, it saves lists as strings, like storing tags in DB. And then number two, it can clean and rebuild text, create CSV like strings, formatting output nicely, and then reversing split after modifying text. So you can only join lists that contain strings, not numbers. So you can't go ahead and do something like this. Let me show you. You can't say nums equal and then a list of 1, 2, and then 3. You can't do that and come down and say something like, and then join, and then say maybe nums. You cannot do that. To join this, we are going to need a map function. This is what it would look like. And then we can say dot join, and then say map, and then we're going to give it 2 arguments. We can say str, and then we can say nums. Now this would work, but the first one is not the right way to do it. You cannot do it to numbers. Something simple for you that will make you remember this. Let's say the split method breaks things apart, and then the join method puts it back together. The next one we're going to look at, I'm going to say hashtag, and then we're going to say starts with, and I need to put some parentheses here, and then say ends with. So starts with function checks whether a string begins with a certain substring and then returns true or false. So for example, we can say file name equal script.py, and then underneath it we can print file name dot starts with open parenthesis, and then we could say script. And if we run our program, we're going to get true. So it returns a Boolean value. And we get true because our file name starts with script then .py. So this method is perfect for validating file types, detecting certain commands in user input, and also checking prefixes like URLs, maybe HTTPS, : // And we can look at ends with next. We can say ends with, then open parenthesis. The ends with method checks whether a string ends with a specific substring. So we can just use again the same example. We can say file name equal, then I could say image.png. So I'm going to comment out this because we already have the file name variable. We don't want them to be 2. So we see image.png, and then we can print file name, and then we can say dot ends with, and then we can check. I'm sorry for the mistake. We can say dot ends with, and then we can check dot png. And if we run it, we're going to get again true. because it returns a Boolean value, and that is true. So this is also great for file extension checks, email validation attempts, and also filtering data. And I'm going to give you a bonus tip. So this is the bonus tip. Both can check multiple options. So we can have a file variable and have a, let's say, photo.jpeg, and then we can just do if file.endswith, and then we can give it a list of, let's say, .jpg, .jpeg, and also .png, and it's going to check. So it's going to run through the multiple options. And then number 8, we have find method. Find method is like a detective for your strings. It searches for a substring inside a string and returns the index position of the first match. If it doesn't find the substring, it returns -1 instead of crashing a program. So let's have this simple example. I'm going to say text equal, and then programming in Python. You can print text. You can say text.find, and then you can say Python. So if I run my program, we get 15. If substring does not exist, for example, if we print Java, now if we run our program, we get -1. Instead of crashing our program, we get this -1, so we know that does not appear in our string. So you can also have a start and end positions. You can search only inside a specific slice. So let's use another example. I'm going to say msg equal, and then let's say something like banana. So if we come down here and print msg dot find, let's say comma, and then we give it a, and then we not comma, we give it a, then comma, and then we give it how many times we want to search starting from the index. We can run our program, and this is what we're going to see. We're getting 3. So a has appeared 3 times in the banana variable. So how is it useful? Number 1, I would say it's useful for searching for keywords in text. Number 2, find where to cut, slice a string. And then number 3, safe alternative to index, which errors if not found. And then passing file names, emails, logs, etc. So this is the short summary I'm going to give you. Returns the position of the match, and then returns -1 if not found, and then doesn't modify the original text. Again, I'm telling you that because strings in Python are immutable. So let's move on to the next, which is count. So we could say count. So count is like a built-in mini analytics tool. It counts how many times a substring appears in a string. It checks for non-overlapping occurrences from left to right. And then optional, you can have start and end position. You can count only within a certain part of the string. So let's look at it. We can say text equal, again we can just say banana, and then we can say print text dot count, and then we can give it, let's say a, and then 2, 5. If we look at our example right now, if we print, we get 1, and that is correct. So the real world examples are like you can count characters in usernames, count keywords in a comment, and then count spaces, punctuations, or symbols, and also check for frequency of letters for basic text analysis. And then finally, we're going to look at capitalize and title. You can say capitalize and then end title. Capitalize method makes the first character uppercase and the rest lowercase. So this is the example. I'm going to say text equal, I'll just say hello Python, and then I'll print it. I'll say print text dot capitalize. So right now we should see H in uppercase form. So let me clear my terminal again and then run my program, and we see H is in capital. So we get hello Python with only H in uppercase. So it's useful for formatting sentences, cleaning messy text, and also displaying names properly, but not perfect for multi-word names. So next we can check the title. So let's say title, we can have an example. I can say name equal John Doe, and then I can print name dot title. What do you think is going to happen? Let's have a look. We get John Doe, and every first letter of every word is capitalized. So title capitalizes every word in the string. And we see this is great for names, titles, headings, and also proper nouns UI. But something to note is that it can struggle with apostrophes, acronyms, and etc. So let me show you something. I'm going to create another example and say print, and then I can say I, and then apostrophe. I am learning Python. So right now, if we run our program, instead of having only I and Python in caps, we are going to see even M is going to be in caps. So we see, oh, I forgot to add title. So again, I'm going to have to clear my terminal again. So we see even M has been capitalized. So that's why I told you it struggles with apostrophes, acronyms, and also etc. And that's it, the most important Python string methods you'll be using all the time when building real projects. Now I want to hear from you. Which Python topic do you want me to teach next? Drop your suggestion in the comments and I might feature you in my next video. If you learned something new today, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to join the Tech Squad, and share this with someone learning Python. Thank you so much for watching. Keep coding, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.